So one of the main strengths of the Jupyter Lab IDE is the interactive notebook, and the interactive notebook can use Markdown syntax. So let me go ahead and activate my Mamba environment that's got the latest version of Jupyter Lab from ConderForge and launch Jupyter Lab. So in the new launcher, we can open up a text file. And a text file allows us to just store basic text. And it's quite limited and there's no formatting around the text. What we have in addition to this is a Markdown file, which is similar to a text file. However, it can be used to format the text as well. So let's make a sentence with italic text, bold italic text, and strike through text. So if I just type in this sentence, it's not going to be formatted. And it's going to look pretty much the same as it does in Notepad. However, if I enclose the italic text in a single star, it becomes italic. If I enclose the bold text in double stars, then this becomes bold text. And if I enclose the bold italic text in 3 stars, it becomes bold italic. For the strike through text, I enclose it in 2 tildes and it becomes strike through. So one of the common problems with using these characters to format text is that we may actually want to include them in the text itself. So to do this, we need to insert an escape character, and we do this using the left slash. So the left slash means the next character being inserted is an escape character. And as you see, these are no longer part of the formatting. And the left slash itself is quite commonly used in a file path. So if I go to C, Windows, and System32 and just copy and paste this file path, I see that it's got these left slashes in it. So I'm just going to want to make sure these are double left slashes, which ensures that the first slash indicates that we're going to insert an escape character, and the second left slash indicates that the escape character is the left slash. So we can use the hash key to create a heading. And for creating a heading, we don't enclose the heading in a hash key, we only use a single hash key. So let's get some text just to pad this out. So let's copy and paste this nursery rhyme under each heading. So to the left hand side, we've got the navigation pane, and we can select the heading, and this will take us to the heading. Sadly, this only moves the active pane, so it doesn't move the inactive pane, which is the Markdown preview. So Jupyter Lab doesn't link the Markdown with the Markdown preview when using the navigation pane. Hopefully this usability issue will be addressed in a future release. So we can change the level of heading by changing the number of stars that we prefix the heading with. So if we want heading level 2, heading level 3, and heading level 4, we use 2, 3, and 4 hashes respectively. So when using regular text, one thing to pay close attention to is the spacing. So when you take a new line, it's actually going to continue the sentence. If you actually want it to be a new sentence on a new line, you're going to have to manually place the spacing. So for example, she sells seashells on the seashore is a single sentence, even though it's written on 4 lines. However, if I place manual spaces between this, now she sells is on its own line, seashells is on its own line, on the is on its own line, and seashore is on its own line. Let's have a look at creating a bullet point list now. So we can use a single star to create a bullet point. So we can have star 1, star 2, and star 3, and we see we've got this bullet point list. And if we want to doubly space this, then we need to explicitly place a new line under each bullet point. So we can also use numeric values. So we can use 1, 2, and 3. and this will give us a numeric list instead of a bullet point list. And once again, this can be doubly spaced. So pay attention to a single star prefixing a value that's going to be a bullet point, whereas if the value is enclosed in stars, it's going to be used for formatting. So we can create a table using the pipe, and we use the pipes to separate out the columns. So the first row that we construct is the column names, and then the second row is the column format specifiers, and then we specify each data row separately on a new line. So let's have a look at the format specifiers. So by default, the text in the column is aligned to the left, and the column heading is centered. We can align everything to the left using the left format specifier. Alternatively, we can align everything to the right using the right format specifier, or we can center everything using the center format specifier. Or we can use the default, which is going to center the heading and left align the data in the column. So out with a table, 3 dashes will create a horizontal separator. So let me just copy and paste the nursery rhyme in and separate it out. So code can be added to a Markdown file using the grave character, and this is to the top left of an English UK keyboard and shouldn't be confused with a single quotation. So if we enclose the code with 3 graves, we're going to get a sentence with some inline code. If we place 3 graves on a new line, we begin a code block, and we end the code block when we place another 3 graves on a new line. So this is analogous to creating a multi-line comment in Python, except single quotations or double quotations are used in Python instead of the grave. And if we want to display the 3 graves themselves, what we need to do is actually enclose them in 4 graves. And 4 graves don't show, and 3 graves show as part of the code block. If we wanted the 4 graves to show, then we would need to enclose it in 5 graves, and so on. So we can add a LaTeX equation using dollars. So we enclose the inline LaTeX equation using dollars. And the syntax of LaTeX is out of the scope of this video. So I'm going to use Microsoft Word because it's got probably one of the best what you see is what you get LaTeX equation editors. So what you want to do is create the equation in Microsoft Word, make sure that LaTeX is selected. Sometimes this will change the way the equation is displayed, so just press Ctrl-Z, and then you can copy and paste the equation and place it into the Markdown file. So a display equation is typically an equation on its own line, and it's enclosed in double dollars. So you can see the difference between the inline and display equation on the Markdown preview. Let's now have a look at links. And since we've got this Baba black sheep open, let's just create a link to it. So we use square brackets for the link name, and we use parenthesis to enclose the link. And we can see that this link works. Next, let's have a look at a picture. So a picture can be on a website. And what we essentially do is create a link to the picture. Okay, let me just go back. I want to get the picture's address and not the picture itself. So this gives us a link, and if we prepend this with an exclamation mark or a bang, then we should see the picture display. Now, sometimes you're going to have issues with actually getting the picture to display because you don't have the proper address for the picture. So when I opened up this picture in a new tab and then copied the address from that tab, it worked. Let's now have a look at inserting a local image. So this picture has been saved and it's in the same folder as the Markdown file. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste the picture name, including the extension. Now, unfortunately, particularly when you use GitHub, the file extension can be case sensitive. So you're going to want to make sure that you always use the lowercase version of the file extension. And some programs actually save, for example, PNGs as capital PNG. So you're going to want to explicitly make sure that you have the correct file extension and the correct case of file extension, preferably lowercase. So this picture is in the same folder as the Markdown file itself, so we can just create a link to it just by specifying the name of the file. And when we click this link, it opens this picture up in a new tab within Jupyter Lab. If we prepend this with exclamation mark or bang, then we see that the picture is inserted, and we made it upside down just for clarity. Let's create a subfolder called images, and we're going to copy and paste this picture to it, and we're just going to rotate it just so it's slightly different. So let's copy and paste the above, and we want to specify the subfolder called images. So what we're going to do is type in /, and this means it's in the same folder as. And then we're going to type in images, which is going to be the subfolder images, and then another /. So now we see that this picture is inserted and it's rotated. So this dot means we're in the same folder as, and then this /images means we're going to this subfolder images, and then we've got the file name itself. So instead of having a subfolder, what we're going to do now is actually go up a level. So the Markdown file is in Documents, and Documents is within the user profile. So I'll use the Windows environmental variable user profile to get to the user profile, and I'm going to copy and paste the image here. And let me just open it up with Paint and modify it slightly. So let me just save it as another format. And let me just select monochrome bitmap. And this is just so it's obvious that it's been modified, and it's also got a different file extension. So this is going to be saved within the user profile. And here you see this image. Okay, so we see we've got this .bmp file extension. So if we go back to inserting the local image, what we can do now is change the file extension to .bmp. And then we want to go up a level, so that's going to be 2 dots followed by a /. And now if we have a look at the Markdown preview, we should see that this image has been inserted. So 2 dots and a / is going up a level. A // means it's in the same folder as, and then you can specify a subfolder. And in the case of just inserting it directly, we don't need to add the dot and /, but we can if we want to. Okay, so let's have a look at going up a level and then into a subfolder. So let's just save another copy of this image into pictures. And let me just open it up in Paint to modify it again. So this time, instead of selecting monochrome bitmap, I'm going to select 16 color bitmap. So it's going to have the same file extension .bmp, and I want it to be in the pictures folder. So I can select OK. So now what I'm going to do is copy and paste the above. So that's going to go up a level, But now we want to select the pictures folder. So this is going to go up level and select the picture subfolder. And we've got this image that's the upside down 16-bit bitmap. So normally you would either have an images subfolder and then have all your images in that, or you would have all your images in the same folder as the Markdown file itself. So what I'm actually going to do now is have a look at the written version of this tutorial, which is on GitHub, and I'm going to download it. And once I've downloaded this zip file, I'm going to extract it, and then I'm going to go to Jupyter Lab and navigate to the downloads folder and have a look at it. So every folder on GitHub should have a readme.md, so a readme markdown file, and this displays when you open the folder on GitHub. So one of the most annoying things in Jupyter Lab is the Markdown preview pane and the Markdown pane aren't linked. So if you scroll through one, it's not going to move the other. And this is fixed in Visual Studio Code. However, it needs this Markdown all-in-one extension to be installed. So if I go ahead and open up this folder and have a look at this Markdown file, I can right click it and open the preview, and I can view them side by side and see what's happening when I modify the Markdown file, as the preview is going to be updated in real time. So hopefully this gets fixed in Jupyter Lab, because it's quite annoying when using Jupyter Lab to work with Markdown. So now that you're comfortable with Markdown syntax, what you can do is open a notebook file or create a new one. And to the top, you've got the option to select code or Markdown. So if we type in Markdown for a heading and then run the cell, we go from inputting the Markdown to what we would see in the Markdown preview. And if we want to edit again, we just double click the cell. So this means you can format your notebook and give notes, detailed notes to yourself or to the person who's going to read your notebook. So essentially everything that we've done in the Markdown file will work in the notebook file. So for example, this image from the web can be added. And the headings display in the table of contents and work as expected. And you can also place equations within your Markdown file, which will perhaps relate to your code.